The search for a missing 5-year-old boy that began late last night enters its second day. Michael Vaughn was last seen near Southwest 9th Street and South Arizona Avenue in Fruitland. He was last seen around 6:30 yesterday. Here's the information you need to know. Michael is about 3.5 feet tall and weighs 50 pounds. He was last seen wearing a light blue shirt with a Minecraft picture on it. He was wearing dark blue boxer briefs and sandals. Our Shira Matsuzawa is live now in Fruitland with a look at these search efforts. Shira, what's the latest?
Kim, it was 24 hours ago, almost 24 hours ago, when Michael Vaughn, 5-year-old Michael Vaughn, went missing from this neighborhood behind me. But just feet away, this field is just one area where crews spent most of the day searching for that little boy. From the air and on the ground, crews from multiple agencies went door to door, talking to neighbors, searching yards and nearby fields, all in hopes of finding 5-year-old Michael Joseph Vaughn. Neighbors say they learned about the 5-year-old's disappearance around 7:30 on Tuesday night. They say Michael was a happy kid who lived in this neighborhood with his parents and grandfather. Cynthia Walker lives in the neighborhood and was walking her dog as the search was happening.
At 5 years old, I don't know that he would wander too far without one of us seeing him by now. There are volunteers, many volunteers out searching, scanning the fields, and we just want to have Michael back. We want him home safe.
Fruitland police didn't want to go on camera, but in a statement says Michael is considered missing and endangered. He was last seen wearing a blue Minecraft shirt like this one and dark blue briefs. After searching with the help of a canine, a drone, and helicopter, still no sign of the little boy.
We're just praying for the family, praying for Michael.
And earlier today, a local church group and its members were out here trying to find Michael. And they also said they started a prayer group in hopes of finding him. His aunt was also out here. She didn't want to go on camera, but she tells us she's grateful for the support. Kim?
Well, let's hope we find him soon. The circumstances of his disappearance, 6:30 is right around dinner time typically for families. Was he last seen with his parents? Any details like that, have they been released?
Hello everyone, welcome back to my mental health and crime channel. This is a case of a 6-year-old boy. He would be 6 now. In 2021, on the 27th of July 2021, Michael Joseph Vaughn, whose nickname is Monkey, a 5-year-old boy, was reported missing by his mother and his father. Michael was last seen in his neighborhood. His father was looking after him and his little sister. The mother was at work, Brandy Neal, and the father went to change the diapers of Michael's baby sister. While the father was outside, like right after he changed the diapers of the little baby and he put her to bed, within 15 minutes the father went outside. I remember this case so well. He went out for a smoke and then he noticed that Michael slipped out of the house. It was around 6:30. Michael allegedly went to his neighborhood to check if there's any other children in his neighborhood who wanted to play with him at his age. We found that out later on while the missing case was going on, because the parents' door that he knocked on, the children's door that he knocked on, one of the parents came forth and gave us this information. Michael was reported missing from Fruitland, Idaho, on the 27th of July 2021. An Amber Alert was never put up for Michael's missing case. But law enforcement in Fruitland and Idaho did a thorough search. They checked all the fields that were near the house. The community came together. The parents got a lot of support from the community. And it's been a year and a half, you all can imagine, from 27th July 2021. Michael has never been seen or he's never been found. But today, we have some actually breaking news, and it is alleged, because we are still not sure how this will turn out to be. Allegedly, the law enforcement in Fruitland and Idaho got some tips from someone, obviously that would be anonymous, to check the neighbor's house. The neighbors live 4 minutes walk from Michael Wong's house, and allegedly the two adults who live in that house were both registered SEX offenders. This is a very sad and tragic case. No parent wants to find their missing child. They would always want to have hope that faith and some good news or miracle would bring them home. So an hour ago, law enforcement in Idaho and law enforcement in Fruitland was seen searching this house and drilling the backyard because they got some tips that unfortunately Michael Joseph Wong, his human remains could be there. I'll just play this little clip. It goes very quickly.
A backyard of home in Fruitland. They have a dump truck, the Chief Huff told me, and there's crime scene tape all across here, down into this area, this grassy area right here. The fire department just left, I think, and you can see they have the whole fence taken out right here. There's a dump truck back there.
Yeah, I'll just play another clip of Michael Wong so that we can summarize the story.
Possibly, I don't know if I don't write. Yeah. My test.
I'll just play a bit of the press conference. This was just to keep you all updated about what it was about. This was a press conference from law enforcement in Idaho, Fruitland, and this is the chief who's going to be speaking. He did an amazing job. I remember how gentle, how nice, and how blessed he was towards Michael's mother, father, grandfather, and the children. There were some certain people with speculations that started accusing the family, and that is the sad thing in true crime. People end up accusing the family when they can't seem to find answers around it. But I believe that everything happens at its own time by the grace of God Almighty. So this is the press conference.
And so for indulging us and moving this up in your schedules as well. So I quickly want to recognize the Fruitland Police Department, the men and women of our department, as our staff continues to work tirelessly to keep this department moving forward as we continue to investigate Michael's case. So their loyalty and courage and tenacity is clearly unmatched. And it's a privilege to lead and work with these people every day. I just wanted to introduce some of my partners. As I've done in the past, our partnerships haven't changed. I'd like to introduce Supervisory Agent in Charge Doug Hart with the FBI, Captain Matt Sly with the Idaho State Police, Chief Gary Marshall with the Payette City Police Department, Sheriff Andy Creech with the Payette County Sheriff's Office, and Mark Sullivan with the Idaho Mountain Search and Rescue. We also have with us today the family of Michael Vaughn. We've got Brandy Neal, Tyler Vaughn, and Bob Vaughn, and Bug. So it's nice to have them here with us today. So since the evening of July 27th, 2021, the Fruitland Police Department, the Idaho State Police, the FBI, law enforcement agencies, and law enforcement agencies across the country have investigated the disappearance of 5-year-old Michael Vaughn. We haven't stopped. Every day we have unfinished business, and I'll tell you that every day is an anniversary of the disappearance from Michael Vaughn for us. Law enforcement, the families of law enforcement, and our community. Our investigation remains intense and strong. So I want to take a moment to just kind of cover some significant aspects of the case to provide some context for those who aren't completely familiar with our case, or those might be jumping in a little bit later. A lot of it I've covered in prior press conferences, but I wanted to cover it again today. So, Michael Joseph Vaughn was last seen at his residence on Southwest 9th Street at approximately 6:30 p.m. Tuesday, July 27, 21. Law enforcement received the first call by 911 at 7:21 p.m. and we began an immediate search of the area. And I should note that law enforcement across the country receives these type of calls every year. Numerous calls like this, we call them wander-offs, and they conclude, but after finding the child safely with friends or family, and clearly it's typically a breakdown in communication. So you need to know the first missing and endangered alert went out at 8:20, with different alerts to email, phone calls, text messages being issued to area residents until 11:20 that night. Michael's image and information went out to law enforcement nationwide on a database called the National Crime Information Center, or NCIC. And Michael's also been entered into the State of Idaho Missing Person Clearinghouse and the National Center for Missing and Exploited Children. The Fruitland Police, Payette Police, and Payette County deputies and citizens searched through the night until support arrived the following morning. The ensuing response was immense. We had over 100 law enforcement officers from federal, state, and local agencies, including the FBI Child Abduction Rapid Deployment Team, along with trained search teams, converge on our small city of Fruitland. Our physical search efforts were conducted by experts from the Idaho Fish and Game, the Idaho Mountain Search and Rescue, the National Center for Missing and Exploited Children, both Fruitland and Sand Hollow fire departments, multiple law enforcement agencies, and coordinated citizen searchers. The search included over 200 residential homes, properties including outbuildings, a septic tank, garbage cans, vehicles, irrigation ditches, and drain canals. Trained search teams and law enforcement, along with specialized canine teams from across the country, searched over 3,000 acres of farm ground, along with areas surrounding the city and out into the county. Sophisticated drones, boats with sonar, boats with canines, kayaks, paragliders. I would say that if we could have dammed the Snake River, we would have. With the help of residences and businesses, we were able to retrieve hours and hours of security camera video, and we continue to reference that video while working on our leads. So let's talk about since the disappearance of Michael. When I tell you our investigation has been intense and daily, I can assure you that it has been. Since the disappearance, detectives and investigators across the country have logged tens of thousands of man-hours to bring this case to conclusion. We've gathered an immense amount of data and continue to work through it with experts from several agencies. We've applied for and served over 27 search warrants, but that may seem low, but I'm telling you that we've also performed probably triple that in mutual consent type searches. So the search warrant and consent searches we've performed have yielded high volumes of data, and search warrants are still being written today. The data requires expertise from law enforcement partners, and this takes a lot of time to decipher. We continue to use all of our investigative resources, to include that of the Idaho State Police and our friends at the FBI. Further, the Idaho State Police and the FBI have assigned investigators to work specifically with the City of Fruitland Police Department on this case, and our partnership is healthy and strong. We continue to call upon the Idaho Mountain Search and Rescue teams with their specialized canine units, and we've received some recent leads that have put us out in the area again, searching more acreage. And I can't thank them enough for what they've done for us. On a moment's notice, they're jumping and running for us. Although unsuccessful with these searches, we can't stop, and we appreciate the continued support from all of our members. And I would tell you that the number of acres searched will continue to grow. So in our efforts to develop a detailed timeline of events leading up to Michael's appearance, we've processed over 1,000 leads. So we've cleared many of these leads, but not all have been cleared because some require assistance from out of state, more investigators, and probably more importantly, just time to work these things through to make sure we can bring each lead to a conclusion. This process is exhaustive and it takes a lot of time, and we believe someone out there will ultimately provide us with some information that'll help us solve this case. It's important to note that as we continue to refine our timeline, we now believe that Michael disappeared in a smaller window of time, and that's probably between the time of 6:40 p.m. and 7 o'clock p.m. on the 27th. Earlier in the investigation, we needed assistance in identifying 2 vehicles and 2 pedestrians that were seen in the area around the time of Michael's disappearance. So you guys need to know that we positively identified the blue Dodge Avenger we were looking for, and the man that we saw jogging in that area. Those have both been identified, vetted, and investigated, and to an end. So the white Honda Pilot, 2016 to 18 Honda Pilot that we have leaving the area at approximately that time, again, we believe that it belongs to a resident, but we haven't quite been able to clear that and verify that. So that's kind of still an outstanding for us. The man seen walking through the area of the splash pad of Crestview Park leading up to the time of Michael's disappearance, he's not come forward and he has not been identified. So the man's described as a white male adult, late 20s, early 30s. He was seen wearing black shorts, a white t-shirt with cut-off sleeves, dark colored shoes, and a hat. So I need to make it perfectly clear that he is not a suspect, but we need to talk to him so we can determine his whereabouts and see if he witnessed anything that would be helpful in this investigation. So I plan on releasing a photograph of that individual in my Facebook official posting later today. So you'll all have that. You need to understand that this is a multifaceted investigation. So many leads are working. We're working many leads at the same time. So some leads are temporarily abandoned as priority leads come in, and that's happened to us on multiple occasions. Once abandoned and we clear the priority leads, then we pick those things right back up and we're working on them again until we can work them to conclusion, right? It takes an intense effort and a lot of work to document all of the leads as they're coming in. And at the conclusion of this investigation, I'm hopeful we'll find the answers. It's important that our case is organized and very strong. So I will tell you that this is a criminal investigation. So with that, you need to know that a majority of our investigative efforts just cannot be made public at this time. As members of the community, we agonize with the family, and we've dedicated our resources to bringing Michael home. So we believe the continued distribution of this story will generate more attention and tips that can be investigated by our department and our partners.
Welcome back. Sorry guys. Welcome back to my mental health and crime channel. My name is Huda London. I'm a licensed cognitive behavior therapist and a licensed mental health counselor. On the 27th of July, 2021, in Fruitland, Idaho, a boy who was 5 years old at that time, who would be 6 years old now, who went by the name of Michael Joseph Wong. His nickname was Monkey. Michael was reported missing by his mother Brandy Neal and his father. This was 6:30 Central Time or local time in Idaho, Fruitland. Like I previously said, the mother was at work, the father was looking after Michael and his little baby sister. The father was changing the little girl's diapers. Within that short period of time, Michael managed to slip out into his neighborhood and he went knocking on his friend's door to check if anyone wanted to come out and play with him. Unfortunately, Michael has never been seen after that. This case has gone with, now it's been a year and a half. Fruitland Law and Enforcement, the chief that was just talking, did an excellent job. They used to keep us well updated. They were very professional. They were working with the FBI and Idaho Law and Enforcement too. There was mountain searchers. There were many other people like volunteers that were helping in this case. Today, like most of us are aware of, maybe some people still haven't tuned in. A breaking news came up that a neighbor's house is being checked and it's a crime scene that is just 4 minutes walk from Michael Wong's house. The people allegedly who live in that house or who used to live in that house, because we still do not have many details and facts, everything is allegedly, but they are registered SEX offenders. What is really sad and hurtful is to lose a child. There can't be anything more painful than that. Losing a child to murder or death, I'm sure is as painful, but then at least you know what has happened to your child, and then you seek for justice. Any loss of a child is terrible for any parents. The trauma that they go through, the whats, the whos, the if. I'm sure the parents must have been thinking, what if I did this in this way? What if I did that in this way? The Michael wouldn't have been gone. The reason I say that is in mental health, especially in therapy, we do see a lot of people who live with guilt, not only necessarily missing cases, but especially losing someone they love. They wish that they used their time by telling the person how much they love them, keeping them close, making wise decisions. But we are human beings. Nothing is guaranteed in life. This was a very unfortunate missing case. Every missing case is very unfortunate, obviously. But this becomes extremely hard to digest. It becomes extremely hard, I'm sure, for the parents to work through it, that it could be possible that their son's human remains is just 3 minutes away from the house. You can imagine that fact that like every day, I remember from when this case came on the news the first time, on the 27th of July, I remember immediately knowing about this case, because before this case I was following Owen and Orson West's case when that broke out on the 28th of December 2020. And then we had Precious Summer Wells's case that I was really tuned into, and many people weren't tuned into, and I'm still tuned into Summer's case and Owen and Orson West. And then we had Michael Wong's case. Couple of months later, we had the 3-year-old girl from Saint Anto. Wait, it was in Texas. I believe it's Saint Ant. I can't get the name right. Sorry, guys. Somewhere in Texas. I'm sure you all will correct me in the comments. I'm looking forward to that. Antonio, was it? Anyway, in Texas, we had the Lena Sadat Keel. Lena Keel Sadar is a 3-year-old girl from Afghanistan who was reported missing. She was playing outside her house. Her mother was pregnant. Her mother went to fetch a glass of water from the inside of the house, which was right in front of the playground, was in front of the complex apartments. As soon as she came back, her daughter was gone, and up to today, we haven't heard anything, any latest updates about Lena Sadar Keel. Lena's case touches me dearly too, because I've noticed everyone on YouTube, especially YouTube since we're on YouTube, have been following Michael Wong's case, Owen and Orson West's case. There was a lot of boots in the ground for them, and Summer Wells's case. But I feel that it was so unfair that people on YouTube did not take Lena Sadar Keel's case. Like, they haven't put it out so much on social media, which I think is so sad. This 3-year-old girl, his parents came from Afghanistan. The United States of America gave them green cards to come down for a better life from Afghanistan to St. Antonio. I remember St. Antonio, Texas. But unfortunately, this case up to today has no resolution. We still haven't found out what happened to Lena, but what I love about Lena's community is this. Up to today, they have been standing strong for that little girl. Law enforcement in St. Antonio put out 50,000 reward at the start, and within 2 months, the Islamic mosque in around Texas and all those areas put out another 250,000. So on the whole, there is a 300,000 reward awaiting for anyone who comes with details that could help find Lena Sadar Keel. I feel so sorry for that family, because when Lena was reported missing, the mother was pregnant. And now the mother has a baby, and the baby will never get to meet his little sister. It is really difficult, because you can imagine when you speak another language and you don't speak English at all, it is really tough for the parents to have that communication and get the right information. But the good thing is the Afghan community in Texas are very close to each other, so that many Afghanistanians who have come together, they have this brilliant woman who's always translating, interpreting for them, helping them around, and they still do searches each and every day, the family and community. They've never given up on Lena Sadar Keel. I just wish that this case got more attention on YouTube. It was just at the start that 1 or 2 creators invited the father with a translator over on a live stream. This happened around COVID time. and people just forgot about that case. So that is very unfortunate, and I intend to put out more awareness about this case because I believe that justice is for all children. It doesn't matter if you're white, if you're black, if you are a foreigner in the United States, if you're American, if you're rich, if you're poor, if you speak a different language, it shouldn't matter. A loss of a child, children are innocent. Children don't deserve that, and no parents deserve that. That was Lena Starkey's case, but then you have Michael Wong, which really touched my heart around those times, because I could clearly see that Brandy Neal, the mother, and the father was heartbroken. They never gave up on Michael. And law enforcement, like you heard, the chief saying that there was this guy who was seen with a white t-shirt and a black pair of shorts, and he allegedly has never come forward. He was seen around those timings when Michael went missing. But like the chief said, the clip that I just played was around 3 months ago. So before that, they did not have any proper leads or a proper timeline. But then 3 months ago, they got the timelining more like basically they got the right timelining, or almost the right timelining. They said that it would have been between 6:40 to 7 o'clock. So within those 20 minutes, something happened to that handsome little boy, Michael Wong, which is so sad. We were focusing on 2 cars. One was ruled out. It was one of the Neibours, and one was a white Honda. That white Honda was a 2016 model. The people, like the chief said, the people that drive that Honda were not suspect, but they were people of interest. So this case, I'll be honest, I'm sure many of us thought the same, because I thought that it could be too late that somebody abducted Michael and took him out to Fruitland. Just like Lena Keel from Santa Antonio. I believe that somebody took her out of the state. But then sometimes it's heartbreaking to say something so far, but still so close. It was just 3 minutes, 4 minutes away from the house. So imagine how, I can't even imagine to think how the parents are feeling right now, and how they're going to feel if Michael is found over there. Because imagine, as a parent, you can imagine the mother used to talk to the whole of United States and the world and said, keep out for my son. People were so invested in searching for the little boy through fields, mountains, the dams, the rivers, all those places. And obviously, you'll remember even that law enforcement in Fruitland, I really respect them. They put so much on this case, not only resources, not only man hours, they put a lot into this case to get that little baby found. And I remember even the communities to come out and help to search for Michael. Nobody ever gave up on him. But these neighbors, it's strange that we did not hear about them up to now. So I heard that tips came in. That's the reason FBI and law enforcement have gone to search, which they're doing right now as I speak. let's not forget, for law enforcement and the Federal Bureau of Investigation to go and check a property, they would have to have solid grounds. It's not like they just say, okay, we've got tips about this house or this flat or this apartment, so let's go and check it. It's not that way. They have to do a lot of research before they even think of taking it to a judge, because it's the judge that has to grant it, and for the judge to grant it, the judge needs to see evidence that, like strong evidence, that can lead them to give a warrant to search that house. Because obviously, the judge doesn't want this to become something that, just say that they give out permission to search these parents' house, and later on they find out that these, not the parents, I mean the neighbor's house, and later on they find out that the neighbors had nothing to do with it. Then they are facing, the court and law enforcement will be facing charges. They could be sued for a lot of money and damages and damage control and trauma, bringing people trauma that are not involved. But what is so strange that I find in this case is usually law enforcement, when a child is missing, or when, yeah, obviously when somebody's, like, we think they're abducted or something, they usually check the SEX offender list to see who's living nearby a certain, I believe, certain meters around the area, and they try and find out the timelines of where those people, the SEX offenders, were when Michael went missing. So it is kind of, I find it to be kind of strange that they didn't have these tips earlier, but to be honest, I don't blame them. Everything happens for a reason at a certain time. I remember the chief used to always say, just like in Summer Wells's case and Orrin and Austin's Wells's, Orrin and Austin West's case, and Lena Sadat, all the chiefs said the same thing. Somebody knows what happened. Somebody saw something. Somebody knows something. So I don't know what has led them to this certain house, because now they're digging up and they're drilling the backyard. They took down the fence, and definitely it has to be some solid evidence. Usually I can believe that for someone to give in tips like that, it could be, just say if it was the two people living together, maybe one decided to snitch on the other, maybe some breakdown happened between the couple, or maybe someone was afraid to speak, but now they could finally speak. Maybe these people moved away from the house, or rented it, or bought it, or sold it actually. So it'll be interesting to see what they find out. My prayers, I really mean it from my heart, go out to Brandy Neal, to her husband, and to her children. I really hope that a closure comes to this case, but I really hope that Michael's human remains are not found in the backyard, so that at least there could be still some hope that Michael could come home. But for, like I said, for law enforcement to be taking down a whole fence and all that, they do have something. So let's hope for the best. Let's pray for the best. And let's hope that Brandy Neal gets some therapy. Her family gets some therapy. Right now, law enforcement work obviously the best way they can, and I really hope that they remember the main thing, because the mother's just three houses or 4 houses away from the crime scene, or the alleged crime scene. So she'll be hearing all the drilling. She can hear neighbors talking. She must be really tense, anxiety, depression, a lot of things are going on in her mind. I really hope that law enforcement get them psychologists to their house ASAP, as soon as possible, immediately, because they need skilled people to be sitting and talking to them. They do need their families around, their loved ones around, their communities around to support them, but it's important to have a mental health counselor, a psychologist, or someone from the mental health branch that can support these families, this family at this time. Not only the mother and father, if I'm not wrong, Michael has a 13, 14-year-old sister. She would need that too, because this would really affect a whole family. And you can just imagine. This is really sad and this is really hurtful. I hope justice comes for Michael Wong. We all on YouTube and social media who have been tuned into this case from the start and later on have always wanted Michael to be found. But not in such a way. But this is heartbreaking no matter what. Guys, please, YouTube creators, please help to spread awareness for Lena Keel Sadat. She is the young girl, the 3-year-old girl who was reported missing on the 20th of December, 5 days before Christmas last year. There was a lot going on in people's life. COVID was still going on. There was so much things, so maybe some of us have missed it. But that girl has nobody. Her parents can't speak English. They still need translators and interpreters around. I really want to thank the Texas and San Antonio law enforcement. They've never given up on Lena. I want to thank their communities for being so strong and helpful to each other. I want to thank that translator, interpreter who's always with the family. May God bless her. She has just been an asset to the family, a very helpful asset that they need, a very helpful support. Because when you can't speak the language that is spoken in any country like English, it makes it really difficult for them to not only get justice, for them to actually understand what has been said by the police or what is happening. Her parents have never been people of interest. Lena's parents have never been suspects. The father searches for the child 24/7 with the uncles, with the apartment complex, and that is in San Antonio, Texas. I check almost every week on that case of Michael Wong and Summer Wells. I check all of them. Actually, I check every second day to see if there's any new updates or information. It was strange. Before they found Michael Wong today, last night, I was going through some of my old clips, and at the same time, I was checking on these cases, and I swear this is really strange. I was thinking to myself, Michael's case, at least the chief and all are giving us updates and all, but what is happening? Like, could somebody have actually taken him out of the state? Then I started thinking about Lena, and I used to always think Lena, the 3-year-old girl from San Antonio, and Michael's case, I personally thought they were similar because I used to think somebody must have come from out of town and just got a quick chance to see those children out by themselves. And there are so many sick people in this world. Somebody just took advantage of the child. And then news came today. So while I was actually going to talk about another case, which I'm going to do after this clip. And when I saw this, I just had to take a break, make a cup of coffee, and just watch what is happening about Michael's case. It's just breaking out now on the news. So they still haven't told us where they got the tips, and obviously they're not going to do that because this is an active case. So they need first to find Michael's human remains, God forbid, and then they will take it from there onwards. I really want to thank the chief of Fruitland, the FBI, all of these people, Idaho law enforcement, all of these people who've been putting dedicated work in finding Michael. And for whoever came out with the information of the SEX offender Neibours, may God bless you all, because at least you must have said some truth in it for law enforcement to have got a warrant from the court to go and check this property. Let's see how this develops. Pray for the family, guys. They really need our prayers. And I really hope they get mental health support right now, ASAP. Law enforcement, since the crime scene is just happening so close to their own property, I just hope that they're not actually at home. But obviously, you as a parent, if your child is missing, you want to see what's happening, whether it's true or whether it's false. You still want to be around the areas. That's why I'm really hoping that law enforcement think of getting them mental health team. Maybe if there are people who are very deep in the churches and their faith, maybe to get a preacher to sit and talk to them, to get some support, to get family support. And I'm sure law enforcement in Fruitland, the chief is very, very brilliant. The community is a lovable community. And guys, this is something that we all need to be extra mindful of: our children, grandchildren, our teenagers, our loved ones. You always need to check your neighbors. I don't mean because this was just a horrible neighbor. I don't mean that we need to think the worst of our neighbors, but we need to be, like they say, it's better to be safe than sorry. So thank God that there is that law that was it Maddie or something. It was one of those missing children in the 1990s, or was it Polly, this case, that they came out, Megan's Law, sorry, that's what it's called, Megan's Law. That was when, because of the little girl Megan, who got abducted from a neighborhood, and it wasn't far from a house either, and they found the bodies. From that time onwards, they made the Megan Law, that every SEX offender has to be registered, and families have the right to be informed, and they need to research it themselves. So it's very important, wherever you live, go and check your libraries, these days internet has everything. Check around your neighborhood. Never trust anyone, because Michael's case is a very good example, and so is Lena Sadati's case. And in Lena Sadati's case, the girl from Santa Antonio, I really believe law enforcement, they're very professional there when they said that the parents are not people of interest. So that could be anyone in the neighborhood, just like Michael Wonger's case. May God bless these families. May God support them with their pain, and may God help them to get justice, get a conclusion. I can just imagine how Michael, his mother, father, brother and sister and community, the pain, the frustration, the anger, the heartbreak that they're going through. May God heal them, help them, and may we get answers as soon as possible, so that the family can, in case that they find the human remains of this little boy. He was such a good-looking boy, monkey. If they find his human remains, then at least the parents would need therapy maybe for the rest of their life. It is so heartbreaking to know that someone who lives next to you, your neighbors, could have done this if they've done it allegedly. Guys, please look after yourself, look after your loved ones, be good to each other. And don't think you're being nosy by checking who your neighbors are, by checking if they have any charges, so that you can keep your family and your children safe. Look after yourselves, guys. Take care and stay blessed. Bye.